Hey guys, today we're going to be comparing a few bags from Fjallraven. We're going to be taking a look at the Raven 28 and the Skule 28. We recently did an in-depth video for the updated version of the Raven 28. This is a bag that I've really liked over the past couple of years and was very excited to see some of the improvements that Fjallraven made here. After I published this video, I got a lot of questions regarding the Skule 28 backpack and what the similarities and the difference were with the Raven, which one might be better. So I went ahead and purchased it, and in this video I'm going to be talking about some of the similarities and differences that I noticed, and hopefully this will be helpful if you're trying to decide which of these bags might be best for your particular needs. Before jumping into the video, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Danny, and on this channel we love reviewing popular travel and everyday carry gear. If you like these types of videos and you'd be interested in seeing more, please consider subscribing as it helps the channel out a lot. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. Starting off with the outside of the bags and the overall aesthetic, both of these feel like Fjallraven bags in my opinion, so they got a little bit more of an outdoorsy vibe. The Raven, however, has more of an old school and heritage appearance, whereas the Skule feels a little more modern and technical. So to me, the Skule is almost similar to the North Face Borealis. It has that type of an aesthetic with the bungee cords on the outside and some of the attachment points that I'll talk a little bit more about in a second. It also has a different fabric, which gives it kind of a shinier and more modern vibe. So it's something that's going to work well, for taking on a hike, but it's still not so overwhelmingly technical that you would be uncomfortable walking around the city with it, taking it into the office. And then the Raven, of course, is a really versatile aesthetic that can work for any type of environment as well. As far as other kind of aesthetic differences, they have different logos. So the Raven has the leather kind of more minimal Fjallraven patch, whereas the Skule has the brighter red logo. I actually prefer the one on the Raven, as I always have more of a more minimal and subdued aesthetic in general, so I like that. I kind of wish that the Skule had that same logo. Continuing along the exterior, as I was mentioning, the Skule backpack has the bungee cord on the front, which is a nice way to attach larger items that don't fit on the inside of the bag. So if you have a jacket, a tripod, you can secure them with the bungee cord. It does appear that you can remove this bungee cord if you prefer to have a cleaner aesthetic. And then I like that this also has some rows of webbing along the front that you can use to attach things with a carabiner. So great that you have both options as opposed to something like the Borealis and Recon backpacks, where the Borealis now only has the bungee cords and the webbing is on the Recon. So great that you have both things here. You can take the webbing off if you don't want to use it. And then on the Raven, you don't really have those external attachment points. And then continuing on the sides, both bags have external water bottle pockets, which I'm always a fan of. I do think that the ones on the Skule are a little bit better. They have kind of an elastic mesh, so it gives you some more flexibility for larger items, and then it also helps keep your water bottle in place, or whatever you place in here. And then they also kind of hug the bag a little bit more when they're not in use versus the more fixed volume on the Raven water bottle pockets. They're not the best implementation for water bottle pockets in general. On the Skule, you also have compression straps above the water bottle pockets, which is always helpful if you have something taller, like a tripod. You can secure it here. You can also compress the bag down when it's a little bit emptier. And it's just nice to have the extra versatility of these types of straps. They have a buckle that opens up, so they're very easy to use. You have one of those on each side. Again, the Raven doesn't have that, so kind of a more minimalistic approach on that aspect. As far as attachment points on the Raven, you have one little loop on each side, which I called out in the video that I did for the bag. One of my favorite use cases for these are to use a strap to create a luggage pass-through for myself. But these will also work for attaching smaller items with a carabiner, such as a hand sanitizer. You have a few similar loops on the Skule. They're a little bit further up towards the front of the bag, but similar sort of size and use case. Great place to attach additional accessories. One thing I'll note about the outside of both of these bags is they're not really great for standing up on their own. The Raven 28 is actually one of the worst bags that I've had as far as getting it to stand up in place. It's got a slanted bottom, so I really have to lean it back against anything that I'm sitting on or standing near so that it doesn't just plop forward. The Skule, unfortunately, isn't a lot better. The bottom is a little bit flatter. It's not quite as angled, but it still doesn't stand up super well on its own. So that's something that you have to keep in mind if that's one of the features that you look for in a bag like this. something like the North Face backpacks are always really good about having flatter bottoms that are meant to stand up well on their own. Moving into the materials, this is a big difference between the two bags. The Raven 28 has Fjallraven's G1000 fabric, which is very well known in the industry, durable. All the Fjallraven bags that I've used this have held up very well. This is a material that you can also wax to add some additional weather resistance. The Skule is made out of polyester, which can be durable and seems to offer maybe a little bit more built-in weather resistance. It also helps with the weight of the bag. It's a pretty lightweight bag overall. And to me, both feel like they're gonna be durable. I do think that the G1000 feels a little bit better, more durable, maybe slightly more premium, whereas the polyester here, pretty similar to any other polyester bag that you may have used. So that's something that you'll wanna keep in mind depending on your preferences as far as aesthetic and maintainability. And then they both have YKK zippers all throughout, which is great to see. One final note on the fabrics is that the G1000 does attract a lot more lint, dirt, and hair than the polyester fabric. So I have a dog that has white fur and it definitely shows on this bag, whereas the polyester fabric is a little bit easier to just brush off and keep clean. So again, something to keep in mind depending on your preferences as far as the appearance of your bag. As far as the capacity, both bags come in at about 28 liters, which is a really versatile size in my opinion. Gives me more than enough space for my EDC and still some flexibility if I want to use these for minimal travel. I was able to use the Raven 28 as a personal item on an international flight, so even though these aren't the slimmest of bags, they do tend to stick out a little bit when you pack them out. Its silhouette is not so overwhelmingly big that it doesn't work in crowded areas or for carrying onto flights. Taking a look at the harness systems, both bags have been pretty comfortable to wear. There are some differences between the two. As I called out in my video for the Raven, one of the biggest changes with the newest version is that it now has a breathable back panel, which was a very welcome addition, as this would tend to get very, very sweaty with the older version when I used it. So a nice improvement there. These straps are still, well padded. They have a nice breathability on the inside. No sternum strap or the ability to add one on the Raven 28. The Skule has also some very well padded and breathable straps. You have a nice amount of breathability on the back panel. I actually think that the back is more breathable on the Skule, as it has some air channels that are not quite as present on the Raven 28. They just look a little bit deeper, and so you get some extra airflow. But in general, not a huge difference between the two. And one thing that I did notice between the two bags is that the Raven 28 seems to have a better frame sheet, so the weight is well distributed throughout your back. This also helps with the laptop compartment, so it's very rigid, whereas the Skule doesn't seem to have that same level of frame sheet and support. So you'll definitely feel that when you load the bag out a little bit more, and also when we take a look at the laptop compartment. So something to keep in mind, but both have been comfortable. And with the Skule, you do have an included sternum strap that's gonna help distribute the weight. And you also have a removable waist belt, which you do not have with the Raven. So this is one of those thinner waist straps that doesn't add a ton of support in my opinion, but it does help stabilize the pack if you're riding your bike or hiking. Just kind of prevents it from moving side to side. And then if you can, fully remove it if you prefer not to use it. So that's a nice bonus to have if that's the type of feature that you're typically looking for in a bag like this. Jumping into the organizational layout, both bags have a nice variety of pockets all throughout. The Raven is gonna have some extra pocketing, whereas the Skule has a little bit more of a simple layout. So I'll start off with some of the external quick access pockets on both of these bags. The Raven has this front slanted compartment, which is really nice for smaller items that you need to grab a little bit more regularly. That is not present on the Skule backpack. Both of them have a top quick access pocket, which is one of my favorite type of pockets on any bag, as when you place your backpack down, you can just reach down and grab whatever you need. This is one of the easiest compartments to use when you're traveling as well, when you're going through TSA. Great spot to toss in, your sunglasses, your phone, your keys. As far as the capacity, the pocket on the Raven 28 is gonna be a little bit bigger and give you some extra flexibility. It also has a soft inner lining, which is gonna help prevent against scratching for anything more delicate that you wanna store. Whereas the pocket on the Skule does not have that same inner lining, so it's just gonna be a little bit simpler overall. The top quick access in the Skule is also where you'll find a lanyard with a clip that's gonna be a good spot for your keys or a multi-tool. It's located in a different area of the Raven 28 that we'll take a look at in a second. Next up, both bags have a larger kind of admin area with some internal organization. So starting off with the school backpack, this has an opening that is not fully clamshell. It's about halfway down, but it still has a flap that comes down enough so that you can access the full volume of the compartment. The nice thing here is that this does go all the way down to the bottom of the bag, so you have some flexibility with what you can store in this compartment if you have pouches, a jacket, something a little bit taller. And then on the inside, you have some simple slip pockets that are mesh, so they're gonna be able to hold larger accessories such as batteries, cameras, mice. These don't have a ton of elasticity, but I like that they have enough volume to handle bulkier items. And then you have a zippered compartment on the back that again is going to have a nice amount of capacity for any accessories that you don't want floating around in this larger area. For the Raven, a similar style of compartment here, so the zipper is not fully clamshell, but you can still open it up wide enough to have enough visibility. It goes all the way down to the bottom. The slip pockets that are included here on the back are not mesh. They're just more standard slip pockets. They're not elastic either, so they have a pretty fixed volume. But you do have some extra organization on the lid of this compartment. You have two additional mesh zippered pockets, so there you start to see some of the differences as far as the pocketing, some extra options if you carry a lot of smaller items with you that you want to be able to keep easily accessible. And another nice feature on one of the compartments of the Raven backpack is that it also has a little lanyard with a clip for your keys or a multi-tool. Moving into what I would call the main compartment for both bags, they are top loading bags, so the zippers don't go all the way down to create a clamshell opening, but still enough space here to easily grab whatever you need. Plenty of capacity in these 28-liter buckets of space. And so as far as the main compartments, the biggest difference between the Raven and the school backpacks is that on the school, this is also where you'll find the laptop compartment, whereas the Raven has a separate laptop area. That's a big differentiator for me, as I personally prefer to have a separate laptop area. It always feels a little bit easier to access your device when you're traveling or just for my day-to-day. But on a more outdoor focused bag such as this, I can see why that might be overkill. It might be better to save on the weight and just having less pockets overall. Also, if you're using a laptop sleeve as a hydration bladder. So we'll take a closer look at that in a second, but you still have plenty of space even for bulkier items. So my headphones, pouches, all the accessories that you see in my regular videos. This capacity is also gonna be great for minimal travel. If you wanna hold a packing cube or something like that, it'll still be able to fit in comfortably. One thing to note about this compartment is that the quick access pocket that I mentioned earlier in the video does come down into this area, and it can take up some space or just kind of get in the way depending on how you pack everything out. And then as far as the laptop sleeve, this does have a padded sleeve, so it feels like it's gonna offer a pretty good amount of protection for your device. It's pulled up off the ground a little bit, but as I mentioned earlier, because this doesn't really have a solid frame sheet, you can see just how much I'm bending the bag over. When I place the bag down, if I don't have some taller, more rigid items in the compartment, the bottom can sometimes make contact with the ground. So it's not a super reliable false bottom in my opinion. The bottom is padded of the sleeve as well, so you have some protection. It's not like your laptop is just smashing into the ground, but it's something to call out with the compartment. It's also a simpler sleeve in that it doesn't have any sort of fleece lining to help prevent against scratching or anything like that, which makes sense as this does double as a place to store your hydration bladder. There is a pass-through on the side of the main compartment that's going to allow a hose to come through so you can stay hydrated while you're hiking. And then for the main compartment on the Raven, no laptop compartment here, but a similar capacity. I love the layout of this bag. If you want to see how I packed everything out, check out the in-depth video that I did for it. Not a ton of difference in the amount of stuff that I was able to store. Something else that I'll call out is that you do have an internal mesh zippered pocket on the lid. So again, another just kind of bonus pocket there. And then I also like how the quick access pocket is implemented in this main area. It still comes in here and it takes up some of the space, but it's actually a little more secure to the back of the bag, so it's not flopping around in the same way that it is on the Skule. So a nice implementation here, plenty of space for minimal travel, for EDC. And then taking a look at the laptop compartment of the Raven, which again is something that is not present on the Skule. I like that it's separate so I can easily access it and not have to deal with all the other stuff that's in the main area of the bag. This compartment has a taller slip pocket, which is a good area for your tablet or maybe some documents or a folder. And then it has a padded laptop sleeve. This bag feels like it has a little bit more support on the back. It's got a kind of a more rigid frame sheet, so it's pulled up off the bottom. It feels a little bit better as far as a false bottom. It also has a padded bottom on the sleeve, so either way, your device feels protected when you place the bag down. And then the inside of this laptop sleeve does have some fleece lining, which is, always nice to have as some extra peace of mind for your device, particularly if you're not using a case. There's not really a dedicated area for a water bladder in the Raven. You don't have like a pass-through for the nozzle to come through in the way that you see it on the Skule. You could probably place it into the slip pocket in this area or into the main compartment, leave one of the zippers open, but it's not really the intended use case. You can start to see some of the differences between the two bags as far as which one is meant to maybe be a little bit more of a crossover hiking backpack and which one is meant to be a little bit more urban or all-purpose. And so to wrap up, the Raven 28 and the Skule 28 backpacks are both versatile, well-built, spacious bags that are going to offer some nice organization. They come in at a pretty similar price point. The Raven 28 is going to be around $110, $120. The Skule is going to be around $100, so a little bit less, but very close in price point. Both prices are very reasonable in my opinion, considering the features and the build quality that they have to offer. They compare well to other similar bags in their respective categories and price ranges. Between the two bags, just to summarize some of the differences, the fabric is one of the biggest ones, so you get the G1000 fabric on the Raven versus the polyester fabric on the Skule 28. There's also going to be some additional pocketing and organization in the Raven backpack, whereas the Skule to me feels a little bit more technical, outdoorsy. You have the webbing and lash points on the front, you have compression straps, it's got the pass-through for a hydration bladder, and it also has the waist belt to help stabilize the pack. So both have their benefits. For me, the Raven 28 is still kind of the bag that I would lean towards, just because it's a little bit more my style and I don't spend as much time in the outdoors and hiking with this type of a backpack. So I would want something that's a little bit more geared towards EDC and travel. So I prefer to have the extra organization that the Raven has. And I also just like the more kind of heritage style vibe that the aesthetic gives. I also think the G1000 fabric feels a little bit more durable. But the Skule is going to be maybe a better option for anybody who's looking for something that's a little bit more outdoor focused that you can take on a hike. It's going to have a little bit more breathability on the back panel, and again, having the ability to stabilize the pack and just having some of those external attachment points might give you some versatility that you'd be wanting for an outdoor focused pack. So both really great. Fjallraven Raven 28 for me would probably be the one that I would lean towards. So definitely let me know in the comments below which one might be the better option for you and what you think of the differences between these two bags. Besides these two, if you're looking for other similar options, I definitely recommend you check out the video that I did comparing the North Face Borealis and the North Face Recon. To me, those are pretty similar bags in this category. The North Face bags have one of the best harness systems. In my opinion, they're very comfortable to wear. They have very well distributed weight, good organizational layout, solid build quality, similar price point to these. So definitely worth investigating. I'd also take a look at the video that I did comparing the Quasar with the North Face Borealis. The Osprey Quasar reminded me a lot of the Skule backpack in particular, as it had the bungee cord on the front, good organizational layout, it was comfortable, kind of outdoor focused, similar price range. And then I also recommend checking out the roundup video that I did comparing some of the larger and more popular brands that are currently on the market. In that video, I talk about some of the differences between companies such as the North Face, Osprey, Patagonia, Herschel, Thule. So some very well-known brands. And if you're in the market for a backpack, those may be some of the options that you run into most often. With that being said, both of these bags are going to compare well against the options that I just mentioned. And if you're looking for durable, spacious, and versatile bags that are going to offer a nice organizational layout, these are going to be solid options to consider. And I'm definitely curious to hear what you all think of the Raven 28 and the Skule 28 backpacks and how they compare to some of the other popular options that are currently on the market. If there's any similar bags that you think I should check out, as always, please let me know in the comments. And I want to thank you as always for watching and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos, and we'll see you in the next one.